Jacinda Ardern, welcome back to our program.
Thank you so much. A real pleasure to speak with you.
It's been so long, and of course, the last time you were Prime Minister, you've taken a couple of years out. You've also written a memoir, there's a documentary out about you, and it's called A Different Kind of Power. What is your different kind of power?
Well, it's fair to say I've spent the last 2 years, yes, as you say, teaching, writing, reflecting, and initially I didn't have an intention particularly of writing a memoir until there were those who pushed me a little harder to think beyond the idea of just a political memoir and rather sharing a little more of an insight into how it feels to lead. And of course, if I was going to write a book like that, it meant also sharing how it feels to lead when you do see yourself as someone quite focused on empathy, kindness, compassion. And it's occurred to me that we talk a lot about different types of leadership, but not often do we talk about the alternatives that we see from what we see currently. And so as much as I've enjoyed my quiet time being out of the media eye, I think it is time to start talking about some of those alternative styles.
So, look, I was going to get in more deeply into empathy, kindness, etc., but you've just brought it up. And I heard your Yale speech to the graduating class, and I was really struck by how you talked about it's not just about you, it's about us, that empathy is not a weakness, it's not just a female thing. Empathy is a basic value for leadership. Expand on that for me.
And I do see it that way. There's a number of things that over time I think I personally felt were weaknesses in leadership. And certainly I think we become climatized this idea that empathy in leadership must denote weakness, as opposed to the fact that actually it's a form of people-based policy making, people-based leadership. And actually when you're motivated by acting on behalf of your community and trying to fix problems that people are facing, that actually often makes you more decisive. I talk often also about the idea of a confidence gap. We probably have a number of people that exclude themselves from leadership because they don't believe they have what it takes. I certainly put myself in that category. But by bringing that humility to a job also means that you're more likely to be extraordinarily prepared, you're more likely to seek the advice of others, bring in experts who can support your work, and that too can be a strength in leadership. So I really want to challenge these traditional notions of what makes for good leadership. And again, particularly in these times when we have a view that there is no place for kindness in politics because that is characterized as weakness.
Let's go back a little bit, because you obviously learnt all this from your early childhood, which you write about, of course, in your book. You talk about growing up in a place which was a conservative, rural part of New Zealand. What did you witness there? What did you internalize as a child that may have led to being a leader, but also how you feel about being a leader?
Two really distinct experiences, really. I spent my early years, just a few short years, in a small town called Murupara, and that was in the 1980s when New Zealand went through significant economic reform. Now, of course, as a child, I wasn't walking around the streets muttering about rapid deregulation. I rather just saw what the kids around me didn't have. I saw poverty and inequality in it, and no question it left a mark. I do think that was a place that really made me in my own way political. But the place where I spent most of my life was a small rural town that was predominantly conservative. And I credit that place for being somewhere that ensured that I always like to engage in a good debate, but I also like to try and see the world from a multitude of perspectives. So yes, I'm a progressive, but I'd like to get us back to a place where we were able to respect different ideas, debate different ideas respectfully, that we didn't descend into violence and aggression in political debate, where we aren't so entrenched that we can't see another person's perspective. So two really important lessons for me going into politics. Not necessarily did I see myself in those times as that would be the place I would end up, but no doubt they were important lessons.